Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. On today's tutorial, I'll be showing you how to make this beautiful two-piece, a short bubble skirt and a princess dart top with a front zipper and a bishop collar and long sleeves and a slit on the side of the sleeves. So if this is something you're interested in, make sure you stay tuned until the end of this video and don't forget to like, share, subscribe to my YouTube channel and press the notification button so that each time I post a video, you'll be the first to watch it. So over here I have my vertical body measurements on my pattern paper. I have my shoulder line, shoulder to bust point, shoulder to under bust, shoulder to waist and shoulder to hip. That's what you have to do for your own body measurements as well. Okay, and then at the beginning of my pattern paper I measured 1 inch for my zipper allowance. That's for the front zipper. Then I went ahead to come down for my neck depth, which is 3 inches, and then for my neck width I used 2,5. I don't want my neck width to be too wide, and I went ahead to connect the points together just like you can see on my pattern paper. And then I went ahead to measure my shoulder measurement, divided my shoulder divided by 2, right? And then I went ahead to mark the measurements just like you can see over there. My shoulder measurement divided by 2 is 7 inches because it's 14, right? And then after measuring that, I went ahead to come down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope. And then after that, I connected my neck width to my shoulder slope just like you can see, right? And after connecting that, what I went ahead to do next was to measure my armhole, right? For my chest line, which is my chest line is my bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1,5, and I got 7,5. I went ahead to measure that, right? And after measuring that, I went ahead to rule my straight line of 7,5 inches over there just like you can see over here. And then after measuring that, what I went ahead to do is to bring down my shoulder measurement, which is that 7 inches I measured. I brought it down to my chest line so as to get a straight line, right, for my armhole. And then I connected the two lines together. Guys, to get your armhole curve, what you can do over there is either you divide that line, the straight line you drew by 2, or you can come up from your chest line by 3 inches. Both ways work for me actually. You can use whichever way works for you. So what I did next was to come up by 3 inches from my chest line just like you can see over there, and then from that 3 inches I came in by 0,5. After coming in by 0,5, I went ahead to rule a straight line from my shoulder slope to that 0,5 inch. And then after that, what I went ahead to do is to measure my bust measurement divided by 4, right? My bust measurement is 36 and I measured divided by 4 on my chest line. And then after measuring that, I went ahead to connect, right? I went ahead to connect from the 0,5 inch I measured to that bust circumference, quarter of my bust circumference that I measured. I went ahead to take a curve ruler and just curve the armhole just like you can see over there. Then after that, I went to my nipple to nipple. My nipple to nipple divided by 2 will give me 4, which is my nipple to nipple is 8 inches. I went ahead to measure that on my bust point, my under bust, my waist, and on my hip line over there, right? So I measured that and then I went ahead to rule my line. Okay guys, take note that from my hip line I came up by 2 inches, right? From my hip line from my waist to my hip is 10 inches, so I came up by 2 inches, right? And then for my dart intake, I went ahead to take on my waistline. I took 0,75 on my waistline, right? 0,75, and then I connected by that. From that 2 inches that I came up from my hip line, I connected the lines to that 2 inches that I came up by, not directly to the hip line, but I came up by 2 inches. And then I went ahead to come down from my bust point by 1 inch and I connected my dart lines. Okay, and then after connecting the dart lines, what I went ahead to do next was to input my body measurements, right? Divided my waist, quarter of my waist measurement, quarter of my bust point and quarter of my hip. So after dividing that, I went ahead to input my measurement. The measurement on my waistline, on my hip line, and then I went ahead to connect the lines together, just like you can see. And take note that you must replace your that lines on your waistline. Over here I actually forgot, then I went ahead to replace those that lines over there, just like you can see. I went ahead to replace the dot on my waist measurement. After replacing that, I went ahead to connect the points together, just like you can see me do over here. Use your curve ruler, the curve part of your ruler on the hip line. Okay, and then after doing all that, my basic bodice pattern is ready right now. So what I went ahead to do, I went on the shoulder and I divided my shoulder by 2, right? That part, just like you can see, I divided it by 2, and then I went ahead to connect that to my bust point, just like you can see over there. After that, after connecting that point over there, what you'll do is to measure your, there's a difference between your front half length and your back half length. So you subtract the front half length from the back half length, whatever you get. Mine, I got 2 inches. After subtracting, I went ahead to connect that from my, I went ahead to measure that from my bust point, and then I connected that line. And then after doing all that, what I went ahead to do is to measure the length of my top, right? It's not up to the hip line. The reason why I inputted the hip line was to give that a good shape, because if I measure directly from my, for my top length on that my pattern paper, it won't give me the proper thing. I don't know if you understand, guys. And then after measuring my top length, I went ahead to connect that, and I added half an inch to give that a little bit of ease on the the full length, just like you can see over there. And then after that, I came down from my waistline by 2 inches, just like you can see, and I connected that. And then I came to my full length of my top. I came in by 1.5 inches, and then I connected that to the 2 inches I came down by. Guys, if you don't understand, rewatch the video, you actually understand what I did. And then at the hemline, I came up by 1.5 inches, 1.5 inch, to avoid any sharpy areas on my full length, just like you can see. And then I connected that to that 1.5 inch. So the next thing I did over here was to alter the, to tighten my shoulder. And to tighten your shoulder, what I did over there was to slit through my bust point. Okay guys, watch this carefully, especially if you're a beginner, right? I went ahead to slit through my bust point, and then I also slit through my shoulder line, just like you can see over there. And then after slitting through my shoulder line, that is to get your shoulder tightening, right, on the shoulder part. You're getting your tightening on the shoulder part. Okay, so I had to close the bust line temporarily, right, for now, just closing that for now. And then after closing that, just like you can see over there, after closing that, I went ahead to measure, right, the space between the, that armhole, that, not the armhole, the shoulder part that I had. And then I got 3.5. And then what I did was to do a 25% tightening on my, on that shoulder part, right? 25% tightening just means that the whatever measurement I got over there, I divided it by 4, right? I divided it by 4, and then whatever I got, I went ahead to measure that on one part of that where I had slit, right? I got 0.75 or 0.8. I actually don't remember. And then I went ahead to connect that line. But guys, you must just follow what I did over here, and you get a perfect shoulder with everything intact, your perfect shoulder tightening. After that, I went ahead to extend the line over there, and then from the starting line, I went ahead to mark 1.5 inch for my shoulder slope, right, just like you can see me do over here. After that, I went ahead to replace the that intake that I took in for the shoulder part, right? To replace that, I went ahead to close the shoulder part first, actually, just like you can see me do over there. I went ahead to close that shoulder part, right? And then after closing that shoulder part, guys, don't take this lightly. It will give you a perfect shoulder, just like you see me doing over here. It gave me a perfect shoulder, right? Take your time and get a clean job. And then I went ahead to replace the dart that I took, the dart intake I took in, right? And then after replacing that, I replaced 0.75 I took in. I marked a straight line, connected it to that 3 inches I came down by before, and then I connected my armhole line. That's the new armhole line. The first one is not considered anymore. Make sure to replace your dart, guys, so as to get a proper measurement, okay? And then after replacing that measurement, what I went ahead to do next is to connect my princess dart over there, right? Just like you can see, make sure your ruler is a bit curvy. You see what I did for mine? I made sure, but not very curvy, right? Not too curvy, right? And then after connecting those points, I had what you can see over here. So guys, I have already added the extra inches I had to add, right? There's no need to add anything on the princess dart anymore, okay? So everything is proper, and the shoulder tightening I did over there has added everything I needed to add on the princess dart. There is no need to add any extra thing over there. And then what I did on the underbust was that I went ahead to tighten that a little bit, because I'm not making a bust here, right? I'm making a normal top over there. I just tightened that a little bit by 0.25 on both sides over there. And then after tightening that, I went ahead to connect that to my waistline, just like you can see me do, right? I went ahead to connect those dart lines to my waistline. After connecting that, I had my beautiful front part ready over there, just like you can see. Guys, just trust the process and do what I did over here, and you won't regret a bit of it, okay? So I was just making sure that my shoulder line is there, it's correct, right? And then I was done with that. So what I went ahead, in order to close my bust dart, what I went ahead to do was to slit through the dart line, my nipple to nipple. After slitting through that, I went ahead to close the dart line, just like you can see over there. Just take your time and do a proper measurement, right? And then you get everything proper and okay guys. So after that, I went ahead to connect to use my tape, right, to tape down the bust dart, okay? I went ahead to use my that to connect my bust dart, just like you can see over there. After taping the bust point, you notice that there has been a shortage right over there. So what I went ahead to do is to just connect the shortage, just like you can see over there on my, connect my line from my chest line to my waistline, just like you can see. And then that shortage has been sorted out. So what I went ahead to do over there is to make sure that from my waistline, right, to the hemline, that the measurements are okay, right, for the dart lines, just like you can see me do over there. Guys, take your time, okay, to make sure that all your lines are straight and proper. So after that, I went ahead to cut my front pattern out, just like you can see. I have my center front and my side front over there. So after cutting that out, I went to my front line, okay? So for my front, from my shoulder to my bust point, waistline, and then my full length, just like you can see. Okay guys, I went ahead to mark my 3 inches, 2.75, sorry, for my neck width, and then for my neck depth, I measured 1 inch, just like you can see over here. And the back does not have any zip allowance, okay? So that's why there is no zip over here. And then I marked my shoulder divided by 2, came down by 1 inch, just like you can see over there, okay? And then after marking that, I went ahead to roll my line, connect my neck width to my shoulder slope, okay? And then after that, what I went ahead to do is to mark my chest line, my bust point divided by 6 plus 1.5, and then I went ahead to connect the lines. Okay guys, so at the back we don't need any bust point because we don't have any breast at the back, okay? I made a mistake by doing that, by drawing the line for the bust point, but we don't actually need that. Okay, and then after that I marked my 7 inches on my chest line, that's my shoulder, and then I went ahead to connect the lines just like you can see, and then I divided my back by 2, back armhole by 2, just like you can see. And then after dividing that, I won't come in by 0.5 just like I did for the front. I went ahead to just measure my bust circumference divided by 4, and then I connected from that half from the half of the armhole I measured to get my curve. Then I went ahead to get my nipple to nipple, which is 4. After marking all that on every point of my lines, I went ahead to connect them, right? And then after connecting them both, I went ahead for my back part. I measured for the waistline, right? I measured my dart lines. I measured 0.5 inch on both sides, just like you can see. I measured 0.5 inches on both sides, just like you can see me do over here. After measuring the 0.5 inch right there, I went ahead to connect my lines, and I did what I did for the front, I did for the back as well. From my hip line, I came up by 2 inches, just like you can see over there, and then I connected my line to my chest line. After connecting those lines over here, I went ahead to do my back tightening, right? So that to avoid any gape on my back, the gapings on my back, I came out by 0.5 inch from my center back, just like you can see. Then I went ahead to connect that on my full length, and then just like you can see me, just do what you see me do over here if you don't understand what I'm doing, right? From my waistline, I came in by 0.5 inches, then I connected to the ends of my pattern. So after that, what I went ahead to do was to mark my waist measurement, and then I replaced my dart lines. After that, I marked my full length for the back part. Take note that the back part does not have any bust point, right? So I went ahead to subtract 2 inches that I took for the front length over there. Okay, so after that I marked my back length. Okay, and then after marking that, I went ahead to mark my hip line divided by 4, right? So guys, to give that a well-defined shape, that's why I'm not using my exact full length on the pattern paper. I'm using my hip line so that I give that an exact shape, right? Okay, and then after that, after measuring that, what I went ahead to do is to further tighten my center back. I went out on both sides by 0.5 inch over here, just like you can see, to tighten the back to avoid gaping. So after doing that, I'll go ahead to close the dart that I have over there, and I went ahead to close that with my tape, just like you can see me do over there, right? And then after closing that, you have a funny shape over there, but it's actually beautiful. It will look beautiful on your back, it will stand well on your back. So after that, I went ahead to tape that. Okay, and then after taping that, what I went ahead to do is to connect the lines to modify the lines over there at the center back, just like you can see me do. And then after modifying the lines, what I did over here, and as you can see the center back, I went ahead to correct that later. Okay, the darts on my nipple to nipple was not straight any longer, so I corrected that. And then what I did next was to connect my princess dart armhole, right? Just like you can see over there. Then the back is not supposed to be curvy, right? And then after that, I extended that by 1 inch, just like you can see me do, right, on my armhole, so as to avoid any shortage. For the front, we did the tightening on the shoulder, so there was no need to extend anything. So for the back, I'll extend that. I added 1 inch to avoid any shortages. Then after that, our back was done and ready. I went ahead to cut every part of my back, just like you can see. Guys, a beautiful dress is determined by a beautiful pattern. So take your time on your patterns and then modify your patterns properly. Okay, so after that, I went ahead and I modified the sides of my full length, just like I did for the front. And then here I was just making sure that everything was intact. After that, what I did next was to go ahead and place my patterns on my fabric and on the lining as well. I went ahead to add 0.5 inch on every side just like we normally do, and then I added 2 inches on the side front and on the side back. Okay, so after that I had my patterns ready over here, and I was ready to go to the machine and actually join the pieces together. Okay, and I made sure, take note that I made sure that my lining was 1 inch shorter than my main fabric. Okay, so after that what I did was to open up my patterns just like you can see over there. Okay, I started with the front and I joined the sides just like you can see, and then I ironed, opened the insides, and I did the same for the lining. Right, I joined the sides, and then for the back I also did the same thing. I joined the sides. The back doesn't have any zipper line. Okay, after joining the sides I had what you have over here. Then I went ahead to join the sides for the main fabric. Right, main fabric, I went ahead to take my measurement. Right, after taking my measurement I went ahead to join the sides just like you can see me do on my sewing machine. Right, I make sure to mark your measurement, right, both on the lining and on the main fabric, right, just like I did over here. And then after marking that I went to my sewing machine and then I joined that. So after joining that I went to my shoulder and made sure to measure my 0.5 inch, and I joined that as well. Make sure all your measurements, you're measuring everything before you join it on your sewing machine. So after joining I had what you can see over there, both for the lining and for the main fabric. Remember I told you that your lining must be 1 inch shorter than your main fabric. Okay, so after that what I went ahead to do was to join my main fabric to my lining, the hems of both parts. Right, after joining the hems I went ahead to make sure that they align with each other. Remember that my main fabric is longer than my lining, right? So make sure they align at the hem just like you can see me do over here. Follow what you can see me do, right? And then after that I joined that. After joining that I went ahead to join the zipper part also on the wrong side just like you can see me do over here. And then after joining that I went ahead to notch all the most important parts, right? After notching the important parts I went ahead to turn that around. Okay, just like you can see me do, I went ahead to turn that to my right side. Sorry, I went ahead to turn that to my right side. Okay, and then after turning that I went ahead to iron every part. Right, ironed everything just like you can see me do over here. And then after ironing everything I had what you can see over here. Okay, so my neck was a bit too tight, so what I did as an alteration was just to come down by 0.5 inch. Right, after coming down I went ahead to cut that, and then I went ahead to measure my neck circumference just like you can see me do over there, and then I divided it by 2. Dividing by 2 I got 9.5. Okay, and then I went ahead to go to my pattern paper, locate where you have 9.5 over there and mark that, and mark from the tip of your pattern paper, right, to where you marked, and then mark that round just like you can see me do. Guys, if you don't understand, just rewatch it, you understand. And then after that I got my 9.5 right over there, and then I come up, don't go down, come up by how long you want your bishop collar to be. I wanted mine to be 1.5, so I came up just like you can see me do over there. Then I connected that, and then after connecting that, guys, you're cutting in this fold, in this form, because you want your neck to stand properly on your neckline. Okay, so after cutting that I had this what you can see over here, and then what I went ahead to do now was just to add 0.5 inch on every side. Right, and then I went ahead to sew the upper part. Okay, I went ahead to sew the upper part over here just like you can see me do, and then the sides as well. And then after that what I had, you can see me what I had over here, and then I folded by 0.25 in just like you can see, and then I went ahead to join from my lining part, right, the part I didn't fold in. I went ahead to join that. Make sure that you make a notch on the center part of your fabric and the center part of your collar, and then you make sure they align together. Guys, if you use this trick over here, you actually get a perfect neck, right? And then after that, I had what you can see over there. Then I went ahead to join that. Okay, so over here I have my basic sleeve pattern. Okay, I'll be uploading the tutorial for this pattern over here. Okay, so what I did was to come up from my pattern by 4 inches, right? After coming up by 4 inches, I went ahead to measure that. I ruled the line, okay? So as to get that, I want a slit on my sleeve, okay? So after doing that, I went ahead to cut out that pattern. And then, guys, over here, my fabric is actually short, right? My fabric was actually short. To get a proper outfit, you need at least 4 yards of fabric to 5 yards. Okay, so after that I went ahead to fold my, I'll be joining the center of my fabric, right? Because the fabric was actually short over here. I just went ahead to place that, and then I added my allowances on each and every part, and I went ahead to cut the fabric just like you can see me do over here. So that's me cutting every part of it. So guys, like I told you earlier, to get this perfect outfit, you need at least 4 to 4.5 yards. Okay, I used 3.5 yards, yeah, or maybe 3 yards over there, and it was not okay. So to get a proper outfit, you need at least 4 yards. Okay, so after that, what I went ahead to do is to cut the down part of my sleeve, right? And to get that, I folded my fabric just the way you can see me do over here. Just repeat what I did, right? Okay, and then after that, I went ahead. That's the hem part of my fabric, right? Yeah, so it's already folded. No need to add allowance on the hemming part, okay? So I went ahead to cut that out. And then after cutting this out, I had what you can see over there, okay? And then I went ahead to add interfacing on that hemline, on that the down part, okay? And then what I did here, I came up by 2 inches, right? I'll sew that and end where I came up by. So I actually have, yeah, just like you can see me do, you have that slit over there. And then after that, I took the down part of my sleeve, and then the one I had an interfacing on, and I joined that to the upper part of my sleeve, and then I had what you can see over here. Then what I did next was to go ahead and input my zip, and then my sleeve on my top, just like you can see what I did over there. And then I had my top ready. Okay guys, so I went ahead to iron that. Guys, so I divided this video into two. The part for the bubble skirt will be our part 2, okay, to avoid the video from being too long. So I had my top beautiful over here. So watch the part 2 of my video. Thanks for watching, and see you in my next video. Bye.